Hello everyone and welcome back to Wigan Weekly. It's been about 6 months since our last episode, so firstly, thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, guys, it feels good to finally be back. Obviously, the season ended. We had a bit of a break over the summer, but now football is very nearly back, and so are we.
Yep, it certainly is, and there's plenty to get through today. We'll be looking at Wigan's transfer business so far, how pre-season has gone, and what we've made of Gary Caldwell's preparations, and we'll also be talking about what's new for us at C&C Football Vlogs heading into the new campaign.
Yeah, we'll quickly touch on why we've been away. I would just say that life just got in the way towards the end of last season. The off-season's always a bit of a quieter period, and I think rather than just forcing an episode every week, I thought we'd probably take a break and just, do a massive deep dive in one episode.
Yeah, now there's loads happening, new players, pre-season performances, the new season is just around the corner and we're excited to get back into a regular schedule. Now I think just before we delve into what's happened in the off-season, should we talk a bit about the end of last season? What you thought about our finish and stuff like that?
Yeah, we can do.
So, I mean, last season, whereabouts did we finish? I think it was 16th. I'm going to double check on that one. It was indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a dreadful end to the campaign. I mean, I think that we spoke about it a few times. I think the way that Caldwell got us playing towards the back end was pretty impressive. I mean, we would have been like, second, wouldn't we?
If it was in the form table since he took over. Because, I mean, you look at, since he's come in, we did have a good few wins in there. Obviously, we had them 3 in a row wins against Northampton, Mansfield and Rotherham. And I think after the Rotherham game, we'd pretty much secured safety. So it was like the last 3 games, the players were just on the beach, relaxing, whatever. Because obviously, we finished off the season with 0-0 against Port Vale, 1-0 loss to Wimbledon, and 1-0 loss to Stevenage. I mean, I can see why, you might not particularly bother, but I think if we'd have picked up some points there, we could have finished a bit higher in the table.
Yeah, probably we could have done. But look, overall, I mean, the season's done now. If you can't go back and change anything, I mean, at the end of the day, we went phenomenal. We went amazing, but we went the worst. We could have been a lot worse down. I mean, there was times when it looked like we might go down last season, but I think Caldwell came in and did quite a good job, to be honest, on the whole. And it's now just about seeing whether or not, it's just about seeing what form we can get into next season, really. Hopefully a good start to the new season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's onwards and upwards from here. And I think with that, it's the perfect time to talk about who's been out the door and who's come through the door in the off-season.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to start?
Well, I can start reading out the names if you want, and we'll talk about them in no particular order and that. So we'll start off with the big one. Samuel Lloyd-Tickle off to Bristol City, eh? What do you make of that?
Well, probably long overdue, to be honest. But I think the hardest part is that it was at one point it could have been, we reportedly could have been, we could have got 8 million for him reportedly about a year ago or a few months ago, and now it's rumored to be 2 or 3 million, which is just nothing really for him. So I think it's pretty bad business from a Wigan point of view. But I think the fact he's gone for little money makes me sort of wonder, maybe Sam Tickle had enough and maybe he felt it was time to force a move and get out of the club, maybe.
Yeah, well, I was reading something about, I think it was Sarah Guilfoyle had said something in an interview where it was they said to Sam, can you give us a last season? And obviously we won't get in your way this season. So maybe it was his calling to get out there. But equally so, you've got to give respect where it's due. If he was turning down Arsenal, because obviously he knew he wasn't going to get game time, I think that wise decision from him. And I think Championship is next level. I wouldn't immediately chuck him into the Premier League, if you get what I mean.
Nah, no chance. But look, yeah, it hurts, but I don't know. I think he probably is replaceable. I don't think he was a very good goalkeeper, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's a massively unique goalkeeper. I do think that he's replaceable to some extent.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I will miss him. I'll say that. I will miss him.
Yeah, I think we all will, and I think after the Port Vale pre-season game, quite a lot of people are saying that, but we'll get into that later. Next up, Harrison Batoni. Now this had been rumoured for quite a while, and it only got confirmed the other day, which I thought was a bit strange. Like, why did it take that long? But yeah, I mean, it's a shame that he's run down his contract, so all we're getting is compensation money for his training. But even so, I've heard, because obviously it's Chelsea, they've got a lot of money, that it might be a decent compensation fee. So if that's the case, then I think we should be somewhat happy with it. Obviously, could have got more, but equally could have been left in the lurch even more, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that Matoni, I think obviously he's still incredibly young. He's only, 18? I mean, he might have turned 19 now. But I think that, it's kind of a case of, either, and you can run down your contract at Wigan, you can move to Chelsea, you can stay at Wigan. Realistically, you're not really going to want to stay at Wigan when you compare the facilities and kind of just the general difference in, on the map where Chelsea are compared to Wigan. I think that obviously Chelsea are a bit of a mess of a club because obviously they're not really, they don't feel like a football club for me. They feel more like a business, if that makes sense, in recent years. But I think for him, I don't think he'll have a future at Chelsea. I think it'll be purely, maybe he'll get a little bit of a run out on the bench in the Premier League, but I reckon he'll be loaned out constantly, and I reckon eventually he'll end up probably back in League One, to be honest. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, I think there's a good couple of points to take away from that, and these have been raised in discussion as well. But I think obviously, like you say, he's 18, he's signed his contract there for 4 years, whatever, he'll only be like 22 when he's finished there. But I think, his agent's obviously done a good job to get him in there, because obviously this is his first season where he was playing in League One, like 3 goals in 27 appearances, I think it was, which is not bad going. Obviously, he got his FA Cup goal as well. Well, you might want to call it a deflection, but that's conversation for another day.
He didn't really do, other than his debut at Wimbledon, he didn't really do an awful lot for Wigan, to be honest. So I can see why Gary Keller wasn't massively keen to keep him, but then you look at how young he is and probably the money we could have made in the future, I don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we probably could have made more out of it.
Yeah, it's quite debatable. I'm more bothered about Sam Sickle, put it that way. This one doesn't massively bother me. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, put it that way.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's really important to mention, because obviously, like I said, first season where he was actually starting for us and playing, I think, obviously, like I said, his agent's done a good job, and I think, obviously, he wouldn't go there for more money, but I think really he's put money in front of his career, because, like you say, I think what the plans were for him is to play with the academy for a bit, and then I think he's going to get loaned out next year or something. But that's it. He's just going to get loaned out, and I think he'll just be a wonder kid that gets forgotten about.
That's what I'm saying. But then I think it's generous to call him a wonder kid, to be brutally honest.
Well, yeah. Like I say, like you said, obviously, apart from his Wimbledon performance, he's not really given us too much. So I wouldn't really expect too much from him. But only time will tell, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so moving on in the departures list, Will Aimson. Now, I could see that one happening, really. I think he's getting on a bit. How old is he now? He's in his 30s.
33, I think, 32, 33. So I can sort of, this one bothers me probably a bit more, to be honest. I think that actually Aimson was a good performer for Wigan last season, and what was in the last 2 seasons, which were pretty poor. I think he offered quite a lot of defensive solidity. I think he had a good partnership with Jason Kerr. He could play in a number of roles. He played in the back 3, he played in the back 4, so that alone is quite impressive. Okay, it's not a huge loss, but I think that it's a decent player lost who adds depth and competition, and also, his age. He adds a bit of mentorship for the younger players. I do think it's not an ideal departure, but then it's not the worst one either. And he joins Salford City, which, to be honest, I think he'll probably blossom in League Two. I think he could be one of the best. Hang on, no, Salford. I think did Salford go? I can't remember.
No, they're still in League Two. They lost the playoffs.
Yeah, so Salford. Yeah, so Salford League Two. I think he'll probably be one of the better players in League Two next season. Well,
yeah.
From that point of view.
Well, this is it. I mean, going off topic here, but Salford seem to be splashing the cash. I think they want to go up next year. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of a loss for us because, like you say, he was solid, but equally did have a few howlers while he was here. But I mean, who doesn't?
Well, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that's a good move for Aimson. I think he'll probably be one of the, like I say, he'll be one of the better performers next season in League Two with Salford.
Yeah. So next up, we'll spice it up. We'll talk a bit more about the academy as well. I mean, obviously these are in no particular order, like I said, but Leo Graham is the next one. He went off to Bury FC up on the expiry of his contract. Now, he was there on loan last season until we recalled him, which I'm still trying to figure out why we did it, because I don't think he had any contributions last season when we brought him back. It might have been for Caldwell to test him out or whatever, but it's obviously not worked out. He's rejected contract and he's gone there.
Yeah, there was a couple of bench appearances, but yeah, nothing solid really came out of recording him. I mean, he was very good for Bury. Like I say, he performed admirably for Bury on loan. He scored an absolute world. The fans were disappointed when he got recalled, rightly so, I guess. Don't think, and especially when you consider there's no reason to recall him. But to be fair to them, they have got him back on a free. I like Leo Graham, I do, and I actually thought that maybe he'd have a future under Gary Caldwell. I thought he might have made some room for him, but he hasn't. And I think he's still capable of probably working his way back to the EFL at some point, and I think he'll probably have a very good season with Bury, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think, it is what it is. I think Caldwell might have been interested in, but like I said, I think it's more down to the fact that he didn't accept any of the contracts that we'd offer him. I think we'd offered him a couple of revised ones, but it's kind of like, and I don't want to put a downer on it or anything, but people are saying, oh, well, if we're losing players to, I think it was like an 8th tier club, maybe 7th, it's like, well, what are we doing? But I mean, I think Leo Graham enjoyed it there on loan. I think that's why he's wanted to go there. It probably feels like home to him more than Wigan. So
exactly, and let's face it, valued by the fans a lot more than he is at Wigan. I think it's just I think it'll be an easier time for him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for him. I'm not too disappointed by it.
No, I think I would.
So yeah, keeping with the theme of the academy, we've got Christy Edwards. Now, I don't think there's as much to say about him. I think he was mainly in the academy. I don't recall any loans, but I could be wrong.
No, I remember, a couple of brief first team appearances, but yeah, nothing major for Christy Edwards.
Yeah, so he joined Southport FC in National League North, so that's like 5th or 6th tier?
6th tier, yeah.
So I think that's equally another good move for him. And I think he might have been involved in a goal in their pre-season, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Southport they've been decent in recent years at nurturing young players. I mean, I mentioned a young Dion Charles, who went on to be very good for Bolton at one point. I do think that Edwards, I think that's a good opportunity. I think Southport, like I say, I mean, I think they've got quite a good Southport. They've got a good young manager in Neil Dans. So I do think for him that's a very key move for his development. I don't think he's getting any. He's not getting any younger at Wigan. So I think that's probably for the best.
Yeah, and I think now, obviously, there's one name that we've not put in here, but this has reminded me of it. So next off, we've got probably the biggest loss here, which was our captain, Jason Kerr, who's gone to his boyhood club back in Scotland, Hibernian, which I think's a good move for him. I think it's one of them as well. I think he's probably one of our higher wage players, so they've probably saved a bit of money by getting him off the books, but equally, I think we've got to replace him with quality.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Kerr, I think on his day, he can be one of the best defenders in League One, but sadly, I think he's overshadowed because of, Wigan over the last few seasons haven't played good enough football to really get themselves in the spotlight enough. So Jason Kerr is very undermanned, I think, but he is a very good defender on his day. And I think it kind of, that's kind of proven because obviously he's not gone to any club. He's gone to a very big team in Scotland in Hibernian, one of the, one of the, the top 5 teams. So I think, I don't think he'll be a direct starter, but I think he'll be on the bench and he'll probably be brought on to make an impact. I mean, look, for him, it's it's the club he supported as a kid, and he'll be absolutely buzzing to, be getting a chance there quite late in his career. So, I mean, as much as I'm disappointed and I think Wigan could have made more of an effort, I still think that, from his point of view, I think it is a good move for him, and I'm quite happy for Jason Kerr, to be fair.
Yeah, very good. And I mean, next up, obviously, I forgot him on this list, but obviously Callum Wright. Now, obviously, he's joined the same club, Hibernian, and obviously that was kind of leaked when Jason Kerr put his joining post on, and Callum Wright put something, and then Jason put like a teasy comment, and at that point we thought, yeah, it's not happening. He's going to go with him. I mean, I can't blame Callum Wright. He was class last season, but I would have loved to have seen him stay on.
He was brilliant last season, but then Wigan just, and I mean, there was a few actually. There was a few alarm bells. There was a few positive signs it might happen. To be fair, the move, but sadly not. And off he goes to Scotland. But I'm not going to be uptight. I'm going to wish him all the best.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't wish anything but the best upon these players. Next up, going to our League One friends at Wimbledon is Steven Sessegnon. Now, I thought this was quite an unexpected move. I mean, obviously I knew his contract was expiring, but I didn't think that Wimbledon would be at the top of his priority list. But here we are.
I actually think he's a bit probably too good for Wimbledon. But then the problem with him, though, is I think he's been very injury-prone. I think when he's fit, he can be a good player to have, but then injuries have kind of ruined him a little bit at Wigan, and he wasn't really given much of a chance under Gary Caldwell. So it probably is for the best again. I think it's a good move for Steven Sessegnon. I hope, and hopefully he'll keep fitness and hopefully perform to a decent extent for Wimbledon. I mean, they'll need it. I think Wimbledon will be down there again next season fighting for relegation.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Sessegnon. I think, like you said, because there was one time where we had like someone, Wimbledon fan, message asking what he was like, and I was looking at his stats, and it was like year on year he'd made less appearances in the league, and I'm like, well, this just shows he's injury prone. There's no other way to put it, and he's probably a bit out of the plans as well because of
that.
Yeah. Next up, Luke Robinson to Motherwell? No, Dunfermline. That's the one. Dunfermline Athletic. Now, it feels like we've done a bit of business with them this season, obviously, with taking Chilikoa Mullin off them, and then he's gone there, and then we're potentially interested in another one of their players, but nothing's materialised with that.
Yeah. I think Luke Robinson, he's all right. He's an average player. I mean, he got his break under Sean Maloney, which isn't surprising because Maloney liked giving academy kids opportunities. He was used a little bit under Ryan Lowe, but then I think last season, in Ryan Lowe's first full season, the appearances just kind of dropped a little bit, and Gary Caldwell didn't seem interested either. And he's run his contract out. He's heading to Scotland, which is not an unfamiliar place. I think he's had 2 loans in Scotland with St Johnstone. So, to be honest, I think this is probably for the best for Luke Robinson. I think I don't think he's going to develop much more in his career. I think he'll probably stay where he is at now. But, I still wish him all the best.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. Now, next up is, well, one we obviously knew wouldn't sign, and is obviously gone back to the parent club, and that's Joe Taylor. And I think, we can't deny he was brilliant for us last season, but I'm scrolling on Twitter every so often. I keep seeing Huddersfield fans slating him off. Like, I don't know what it is. He mustn't be doing well for them in pre-season, because I've seen people saying, oh, when he plays for us, can we have him playing a Wigan shirt so he might be decent? It's like, if you don't like him, lads, we'll take him off your hands.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Taylor was just so impressive, really. I mean, he came out of nowhere. He wasn't really expected to do much at Wigan. I thought it was another... It's just a random loan signing, but to be fair, very quickly he got into great form. Not just under, well, it was mainly Gary Caldwell. To be fair, he was a bit quiet under low, but as soon as Caldwell came in, serious impact made. I mean, he's at Huddersfield for the time being. There's been links to a few Championship clubs interested. I think he'd struggle in the Championship, but he's not going to turn it down for League One, and it's out of Wigan's hands. They're not going to get him.
Well, no, we're not, and I think you can't ignore the fact he had like 11 goals or whatever in the second half of the season. It shows that he's good in this league, and I know you say he's probably not cut for the Championship, but it literally is his next step of progression, really. If he can hack it there, then he could be destined to make it to the top, but if not, then maybe League One is his level. Next up, we've got Tyrese Francois. Now, the funniest thing about him is I never remember anything he's contributed on the pitch. Is the main memory I've got of Tyrese is when you interviewed him, Charlie, about past Wigan players as like a quiz, and he didn't know who any of them were. It's like, I know they say when you're getting a job, maybe do a bit of research about where you're working, but obviously they don't do that in football. There's very rarely loyalty to the badge, and fair enough, that's just the way it is. But what do you think about Tyrese Francois? I don't really think it's a miss personally, because I can't really remember anything he's contributed.
Yeah, I think you've sort of hit the hammer on the head there, to be honest. I just don't think that he was a Sean Maloney signing, and just it kind of felt like from the start he was riddled with injuries, poor performances, average footballer, and then I think when Lowered and Caldwell both came in, just neither of them really used him enough. I mean, he was there, and obviously he could, I wouldn't say perform, but he could do a job, I guess, but not a very good job. That's the problem. So, yeah, I think this is honestly for the best. I think it frees up a much-needed role in the midfield, and hopefully will replace him admirably.
Yeah, and now next up, I mean, we knew he was only contracted until the end of the season, but it's Jack Hunt, who started training with us in pre-season with the hopes of keeping his fitness up and find another club, which he's now since done, and he's gone to newly promoted York City in League Two. I think that might be a good move for him, obviously stepping down a level, and that, 'cause he's definitely, I think he's in his mid-30s, so he's definitely going to be closer to retirement age, if not very soon. I think stepping it down a bit is probably a good level for him.
But yeah, I mean, he's had a mix of a career. He's played in League One, Championship. Now he's in League Two. I think with York, it's a good move, to be honest. I think he's at the age now where he's probably better as a mentor for younger players. I mean, I don't think he was dreadful for Wigan. Every performance I think he had, it went badly. I mean, the Arsenal game was pretty bad. I mean, I know that Wigan weren't great that day, but Jack Hunt was probably the worst by a long mile. I mean, he was subbed off before half time. That's how bad he was. So yeah, not really too bad about this one. I think it's a good move for him. I'm happy that he's still in the EFL, which is good for him. You know, at the age of 35, as he's getting on a bit now. But like I say, it was a good decision not to give this fella an extension.
Yeah, fair enough. And last but not least in the departures list for now is Toby Savin, who's gone to Torquay United, I think it is. Now, I think this is probably a decent move for him, because I don't really think he was ever used last season.
Wasn't used, but I don't know. I think it's hard, really. I mean, I'd argue I'd probably prefer him over Tom Watson. I think the fact he's quite a tall goalkeeper is good. I like tall goalkeepers, and I think Watson's on the shorter side. But other than that, look, it's not really a meaningful move, really. Didn't do anything last season for Wigan. He made about maybe one, maybe two appearances. I can't really remember, to be honest. But, yeah, fair play to Toby. I mean, he's in non-league. I think he's arguably too good for non-league, but time will tell whether or not Torquay is the right move for him or not.
Yep, fair enough. So, just to summarise, I've got a couple of questions for you, just to sort of summarise this section. So, number one, out of all them people, or should I say all them players, who do you think is the biggest loss to Wigan?
I think it has to be Jason Kerr, to be honest. I mean, we've lost a captain. I think a captain's quite a big one, because Jason Kerr is one of the better captains we've had. I think he's got us through quite a few tough periods, really. I mean, you look at last season, particularly, obviously, I know he was injured for quite a bit of the last season, but I think that whenever he played, he made an impact, and he kept the team together at times, to be honest. So, yeah, I think he'll be tough to replace, and it's also very important that we do get it right when it comes to replacing him.
Okay, yeah, I completely agree with that. Now, next question and last one for this section is, out of any of these departures, did any of them really surprise you, or did you sort of see all of them coming? Did you think, like, we'd expect to see the back of half of these players?
I think the only one I'd probably argue, I think not really any that massively surprised me other than Jason Kerr, but I'd also argue that maybe Callum Wright surprised me. And I knew we wouldn't get Joe Taylor. I knew that'd be ambitious, but I thought Callum Wright, we might, maybe this would be the year we got in one of our impressive loan players, but sadly just not meant to be in the end.
Yeah, I think that's summed it up quite well. Now, next we'll move on to players who've signed new contracts, and then we'll talk about the new players through the door. So, new contracts wise, we've got Leighton Chapman, the academy lad, who signed until 2029. I think that's a good move. We've lost Christy Edwards, Harris Abatoni. I think we need to start tying down these academy lads who've got potential.
Yeah, well, centre backs is something we need. I mean, we've got Carragher, we've got him, we've got the new signing, but other than that, not really enough, I'd argue. So, yeah, I think he's an important one to have. I mean, to be honest, when he played last season, there was great signs. He played really well against Exeter, and even that surprise win at home against Bradford really surprised. So I think overall, yeah, it's a good extension. I'm happy that Chapman's staying.
Yep, I can get behind that. And next up, we've got Jensen Weir. Now, I think Wigan's pretty much his boyhood club. He grew up here, obviously, before we had to sell him in admin, and then he's come back. And I think the fact he's tied down to a new contract shows that he's happy here. He wants to see the club do well, play for the badge. And I mean, I know he gets his slating from people here and there. And I mean, deserved, maybe not. I'm not going to get into that. But I think we should definitely be getting behind players who play for the badge, one of our own, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and next up we've got Adam Mosley, who was the wonder kid at, was it Runcorn Linnets or something? We took him on last season. He's been playing in the academy. I know we only gave him a short-term contract, but to see him sign on for another year with an option to potentially go even further. Oh no, that's someone else, sorry. But to see him until 2027 is good. I mean, I'd like to see us sign him even further into the future if he continues to perform quite well.
Yeah, I would, to be fair. I'm just hopeful now that it will work out long term because, like you say, there's definitely potential there. But if he's not given an opportunity, then it's going to take a bit longer than expected. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
Next up, we've got Chris Z, which I think for you is a bit of a controversial one.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of Chris Z. I think he found his level at Blackpool, at Southport, but yeah, I don't really know what to say for Chris Z. I think it's one of them really. He did score 2 goals in pre-season. I'll say that for him. So maybe there's something that we'll see in this season. I mean, I think Carwell clearly sees something which is surprising, but then that could come down to the lack of resources we have at the club. Maybe we don't want to go and make the effort of getting another striker when we've already got one. That's maybe the way I see it.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think, maybe Chris Z's had his up and downs, but, I'd like to see him do well. I don't wish anything but success on these players. And then last up for the new contracts, we got the new player mentor role for Cal Mack. Now, I'm quite a big fan of this because obviously, I mean, I know you said his legs are getting on a bit, and I mean, he is getting older, but I do think he's a good face to have around the club. He knows the club because he's been here on 3 different spells. He's seen us at our highest and our lows, you know what I mean? Player of the match in the FA Cup. It's like, why wouldn't you want to keep him about? Definitely passionate about the club.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's arguably a club legend. That's probably open to debate, but I think he is an important player to have around. Yeah, like you say, he knows the club inside out. It'd be good for the younger players. And to be fair, in his heyday, he was a decent little player. So I think overall, yeah, that's a good role that for Cal McManaman.
Yeah. Now, just 1 or 2 quick questions for this part of the podcast. Out of them 5, who do you think is the most important extension?
I think it's got to be Jensen Weir. I think Jensen Weir is one of the better players we have at the squad, and I think ultimately he's a big part of the midfield. He was last season at least, and I think under Gary Caldwell, he performed a lot better than the first half of the season. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he plays next season, Jensen Weir.
Yeah, I can see that. Is there any surprises on here? Like, do you think that some of these maybe were unexpected, or do you think this is all good from the club trying to get, players to keep on and that?
I'd say so. All other than Christie, I'm not really a big fan of the Christie extension. I think I would have been happy if we'd have allowed him to leave it a free, but that's the different story, I guess. But we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, so we'll go on to the big guns now, which is the summer signings. Now, I think these aren't in any particular order either, but we'll work with it. So first off, we started the window with Max Power. We bought him off Bradford, brought him back for, I think it's his third spell here now. Central midfielder, undisclosed fee. And I mean, I think this is probably not a bad little thing to do. So obviously he knows the club, he'll play for the badge. It's also closer to where he lives. And I mean, I remember seeing things on Twitter being like, oh, he's left the club because he can drive less every day because his family live in Liverpool or whatever, which I thought was quite funny. But no, I think Max Power, credit where it's due. I mean, I know he's in his 30s, but it's like what we're going to talk about in a minute is all these other signings who are quite young. So I think to have some older, more experienced faces around the club is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, Max Power is. I think club legend's a bit of an overstatement, but he is a very big player for Wigan. I mean, he had a wonderful 3.5 years before leaving for Sunderland, and to be fair, he didn't. It's not like he was poor at Sunderland. He was a very big part of the Sunderland team, but obviously he returned back in 2021, and even the other two spells were quite impressive. I do think that it's a good player to have back, and I think ultimately he's been, I think whenever he's played in League One, a big season's followed statistically. So I'd like to say that overall he's a good face to have back. I mean, I know a few people might have raised a few eyebrows, but I think even last season at Bradford, 51 appearances, no goals, okay, but 6 assists and average match rate of 7.2. That's impressive for a player at the age of 33. I think there's still room for improvement with Max Power. I think he's probably destined for another decent season, hopefully at Wigan.
Yeah, and I think this is a thing as well, and it'll be a recurring theme. I think we've been fairly smart with the spending so far, because obviously, I mean, I know he was contracted there, but he only had like a year left, so I can't imagine us paying well over the odds for him. But yeah, it's like I say, he's played with Caldwell before, as when Caldwell was first in charge, and I think that's important. If Caldwell can, keep us going like he did back then, I think we'll do well this year. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the signing of Max Power?
I give Power probably a 7.5. I think it's good business. I think, if it hadn't been Gary Caldwell as manager, it wouldn't have happened. But I think Caldwell, like you say, he signed him back in the summer of 2015, 11 years ago now, which is crazy when you think about it. So there's obviously history there, and I think Caldwell knows he'll do a good job. He's obviously part of the plans. So, yeah, I'd give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Yeah,
I can get on board with that. I was going to say about a 7 as well. I think if it pays off, it'd be a smart bit of business. Yeah, and I think the fans can expect a lot out of him. And I mean, the fans love him as well, because obviously he's been here, knows the team, he'll play for the badge. Next up, we've got Connor Barrett for an undisclosed fee from Walsall, who operates as a right back. Now, this one's interesting. I mean, I don't want to judge players before I've seen them play, but the day we signed him, the amount of Walsall fans that were online saying, oh, he's rubbish, how do we get a fee for him, whatever. I don't want to slate players and write them off before they've even started, but I think if he does well, then I'll be happy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll be happy, but I mean, I think within reason, though, I mean, in 2 seasons at Walsall, his stats kind of speak for themselves. I mean, he's made over 85 appearances. He's got a total of 12 assists and 3 goals, an average match rating of 7.1. Like, I think for a right back, especially a young right back at age 24, I think that's good. I think Walsall potentially maybe are a little bit sour that he's gone to, arguably, well, a bigger team, obviously a league above them. So I think there's probably, I think it's just sour grapes. That I think it's a good move. This, and out of 10, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good signing for the future, a good investment, hopefully. And if it doesn't pay off, then I'll be made to look a rightful come next year's season review. But yeah, I think as of right now, I'm positive that it'll work out for Conor Barrett.
Yeah, that's what I say. I want to be positive. I want to see how he performs over the season. Same with any of these, really. I mean, obviously, we can comment about Max Powell because obviously he's been here before. But yeah, I just wish all these players the best. And I think Conor Barrett, if it was a decent fee, and we, you know, like you say, he's made a good amount of appearances over the last 2 seasons, then obviously shows he's not injury prone and spending a lot of time out. So if he's going to be playing week in, week out, I think it'll be a good bit of business there. So I'll give that about a 7 as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, at least we're in agreement.
Yeah. Now, next up, also had his fair bit of slating from Orient fans is Sonny Perkins. Now, I imagine, I mean, I've not seen his stats, so I don't know, but I imagine his stats probably aren't that bad. Like, I think Orient fans are probably over-exaggerating.
I mean, statistically, he's a right winger. His stats in the last 2 seasons at Orient, he's made what? He's made 63 appearances. He has 6 goals and 6 assists.
Well, over 2 seasons, that's not too bad.
Not too bad. I mean, they're average. I mean, last season he didn't do an awful lot. No goals, no assists the entire season. But then I think he did have an injury at one point last season, a decent injury. Look, I'm not a huge fan. I don't think he's an amazing signing. I think from the looks of it, he just lacks what you want in a modern day winger. Not much pace, not a great dribbler, not great from free kicks, and I think that not a great passing range. I just think it's it's quite a cheap signing. I think it's just we've sort of settled for a very average player, if I'm honest, and I'm probably going to give it I mean, no disrespect, but it kind of is. I'm going to have to give it probably a 5 out of 10. I'm just not a huge fan, to be honest with this signing.
Yeah, but obviously, I mean, you said in one season he had 6 goals, 6 assists, which makes me think there must be something there. But obviously, like you say, if there was no involvement last season, obviously, he might have lost it, or it might have been like he might not have gelled with the team or whatever. I don't know.
But I do just think that I just think there's better options out there than him. I think that there would have been better options. I think that this guy probably is. I think it was probably a comfortable enough deal to get done, which is why they could have done it. I don't think it was more because he's a good player. I think it's more because it was just convenient at the time.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think, obviously, you know, limited budget or whatever, I think we're trying to be clever in some aspects. I say clever. We'll see. See how it pays off. But I think I'm going to be slightly more optimistic than you because I want him to do well. I'm going to say 5.5 out of 10.
Well, yeah, I mean, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I'll give you that.
But yeah, if he does bad, he's going to come back to bite me next season. Anyway, moving on. We've got Hindolo Mustafa on loan from Crystal Palace, mainly operates as an attacking midfielder. Now, I mean, I was quite excited for this one because obviously, I mean, I know his parent club being Crystal Palace and that. I mean, I know he's probably not had any Premier League involvement, but Premier League academy players, there can be some real gems in there, and I'm hoping that we can see that. Because, I mean, we have had loanees in the past from Prem academies that have not been too bad, and I'm just hoping he follows on suit with that.
Well, this fellow doesn't look too bad. I mean, I think that for the age at 19 years old, I think that there's quite a lot of potential here, to be fair. And obviously, he was on loan at West Brom last season, under 21s, and didn't do an awful. He did get injured halfway through, but in 2 games he registered a goal. So kind of that's not bad. That's a good little record. And even last time in the 24-25 campaign with the Palace under 21s, 29 appearances, 11 goals, and 9 assists. Like that's pretty good numbers. That's you know. For the under-21s league, I imagine he would have been one of the best players in the league that season. So there is clear indicators here that hopefully he will perform. Obviously, he's on loan from Palace.
Yeah, he's on loan.
Yeah, and I mean obviously but loan at West Brom, and he's even been on loan at FC Nuremberg's second team, where he didn't do an awful lot. I think this is a smart bit of business. I think from the looks of it, he offers very good pace going forward. He's quite a technical footballer. okay, there's room for improvement in terms of crossing, his finishing, but I think overall this will hopefully work out. I'm quite happy with this set, and I'm going to give this I'm going to go for a 7 out of 10 for this one in Hindole and Mustafa.
Yeah, now you've just read out his stats, and I think that clearly shows that he's quite good for, too good, if not, to be playing for academy.
I think for his age boundary, he's one of the best probably for his age.
Yeah, so I feel like League One or just EFL football in general is probably like the next move in his career now. Like, he's, you know, if he's proved himself in the academy, I think, you know, we've got to give him a chance here, and I think it sounds promising. I think he'll do well, and for me, I think I'm going to be generous and give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it is generous. I mean, time will tell. If this guy, you know, if this guy has a similar season to like a Callum Wright sort of player, then I'll pat you on the back. But until then, I'm going to have to probably say you're mad.
Yeah, well, it's the thing. I think I'm feeling a bit optimistic today, but when you read out them numbers, I'm quite impressed with them, and I just hope that he can get on.
11 goals, 9 assists. That's like Tello Asgard-esque in his last season at Wigan, which, like I say, does give me a bit of confidence. Maybe it'll work out. Yeah, well, we can only say that time will tell. Yeah. But next up, we've got Joe Walsh on loan from QPR, basically the Sam Tickle replacement. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this one, because obviously I went to Port Vale game pre-season, and I wasn't really impressed by his performance, but I've heard that he was supposed to be playing better at Fylde, but I didn't go, so I don't know. But yeah, it's like, if we're letting in 3 goals to a division below, I get it's only pre-season, but alarm bells are sort of ringing for me. Yeah, alarm bells are ringing, but, you know, with this guy, though, I mean, he was put into a very difficult position last year at QPR. Obviously, Paul Nardi got injured and they had to bring him in. And, you know, he was thrown into the first year, into deep end. I mean, he made 24 appearances and had an average match rating of 6.5, which for a goalkeeper in the Championship is probably just about average. So he's clearly got, you know, something about him. And I think it's, you know, he's not going to, you know, I don't think he's exactly what we need, but I think that he'll be an interesting player if he can develop much this season. I think that there's probably a bit of pressure on his shoulders. Obviously, he's expected to replace Sam Tickle, but I wouldn't expect an immediate impact. I think it'll take a few months for him to get going properly. But I think that this will hopefully work out in the long run. I'm going to give it out of 10. I'm probably going to give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd give it similar in a 6.5. I think, you know, like you said, got chucked in the deep end. I think if he's got a bit of Championship experience and is about average there, then I think if he's going in the league below, he's got the potential to do even better. And like you say, even if he doesn't fill Sam Tickle's boots at first and it takes him time to gel, then so be it. So yeah, like I say, I'm going to give it 6.5, like you said. Like, I would give it higher, but I saw the Port Vale performance, and I think, yeah, it's obviously pre-season, they'll learn from it, but I wasn't very convinced after watching that performance.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get that.
Anyway, moving on, we've got Jeremiah Chilikoa Mullin from Dunfermline Athletic, centre-back. Now, obviously, I know we've already mentioned Dunfermline in this video podcast. But yeah, it seems like we've got a bit of business going on with them too, players going back and forth to there. But yeah, last season, this Jeremiah was their player of the season or something, so that says enough in itself. I think there's a lot to be expected from him, and I don't want to put any pressure on him, but he sounds like, should he be up to it, he'll do a belting job.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the Scottish second tier isn't quite, you know, it's not the greatest second tier, but I think that the fact he got player of the season does probably, you know, it rings some bells that hopefully he will be something next year. I mean, obviously, he's not really a Jason Kerr replacement as such. I think he's more of a kind of, he adds a bit of squad depth. I don't think this guy, you know, I don't think he's going to be a guaranteed starter straight away. I think you kind of have to maybe get at least another centre-back in the window at some point. But I think that as the season goes on, it probably will get chucked into the first team at some point consistently. And I think with players like James Carragher and Mullen Fox around, I do think that, you know, he'll hopefully break out and have a somewhat decent season and go on to be one of the better players in League One next season. But again, time will tell. Out of 10, I'm going to give Jeremiah Chikolo Mullen a I think it's probably a 6 point. Actually, no, I'll give it a 7 out of 10 because I think the fact that we've managed to, lure a player of a season from any league is good business. So I'm happy with that signing, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just about to say that as well. I was like, I mean, I know you said that second tier is not as good as maybe other countries' second tiers, but I mean, I still think League One be a good bit of progression for him. And like you say, the fact we managed to snap up their player of the season on a free, definitely one of the more promising things. And with that, I think I'm going to go with 7.5. Even if he isn't a weekly starter, I think just for that alone and the potential that he's got, I think he's definitely worth a higher score.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, next up we've got Akil Higgins, who came on a free from West Brom. Now, obviously, we've been quite clever with this one. I forgot to say as well, he operates as a right winger, just for context. But I think as well with this, he's come in on a free. Now, West Brom have got some sort of good sell-on fee if he was to do well. So it shows that he probably wasn't the most valued at West Brom, but maybe they're seeing potential in him, which is why they want a good fee if he is to do well and move on. But I think if I was going to give it a score, I'm going to stick it at around a 5 or 6, because if he does do well and we sell him on for good money, we could lose up to maybe half of that.
Look, I think that there's kind of there's room for improvement with this guy. And like you say, if he performs for us, we're not going to make much money probably. But so to some extent, I kind of hope he's not a great footballer for us. But look, I mean, his stats were all last season on loan at Exeter with 31 appearances, 27 League One, and a goal and assist. That's not bad. That's impressive to some extent for a young striker in League One. He's only 21. I think the thing to him is it's good movement. He's got very impressive sprint speed, and that's something that we will need in behind. I think that overall, it's not an amazing piece of business, but I think it hopefully will work out in the long run. I'm going to probably go for what you said. I'm probably going to give it probably a 6 out of 10. It's not a great signing, but it's not the worst signing, but it's it's a very Wigan signing. It's a bit like a Silko Thomas sort of signing. I don't think he'll do an awful lot for us this season.
Yeah, fair enough. And last but not least, we've got Ryan Trevitt, who was obviously released by Brentford end of last season, operates as a central midfielder. We picked him up on a free. Now, this one's quite interesting. I don't know the full details of his contract, but I remember seeing on a website that there was the potential to maybe give him a pay-as-you-play sort of thing. So if he was injured for a lot of the season, we wouldn't be losing out on lots of money. Now, whether they've gone through with that, I don't know. But if we did, it'd be a good bit of business if we're trying to keep that budget as tight as possible. But I think regardless of that, I think, he showed glimpses last season. And I think to get him on a free, I'm happy with that. I'm going to give it a 7.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of it. I think that there's good and bad problems for this. I think the problem is that he got injured very early last season, and even though what we were seeing was really good, we didn't see it enough because of the injury. And I think but on a free, like you say, he is a good player for League One. He is probably one of he's not a signing we're probably really entitled to. I would have expected to maybe go elsewhere, maybe a team that are going to be more likely to be in the top 6. So, to be honest, it is a good piece of business. And like I say, I think it just deserves quite a good ranking. I'm going to give it I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to go for a 7 out of 10. I'm happy that he's back, and I'm hoping that big things come from this guy next season.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, out of all of these, number one favourite signing?
I think for me, it's probably Hindolo Mustafa. I just think that this kid looks... I think you can sort of tell these days the difference between a decent youngster and a very good youngster. And I think this guy looks a very good young player. I think we've actually done really well to get this deal done. I'm surprised he's not gone elsewhere, to be honest. I think we acted quickly and got it done quite early, which is the big reason. But like I say, his stats for the youth side are very impressive. I really hope he can take that into a proper EFL campaign, where hopefully he'll be fit, no injuries, and hopefully he'll play as much as possible. I think this guy could achieve big things at Wigan. Not trophies, but definitely statistically. And I think he'll probably, I hope he'll probably end up, going back to Crystal Palace with a very good season under his belt. So yeah, I think Ndola Mustafa, as of right now, is my favourite sign of the window.
Fair enough. I can get on board with that. But it's like if I was being asked, I don't think I could go down with one side. I really like him, but I also like the idea of Max Power being back. Like, you know, we've obviously got more familiar faces.
I was going to say Max Power, to be fair, but I've gone for
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I like that we brought Cowbell back. We've got, you know, Perkins and obviously all that. I just like that we've got more faces who are passionate about the club back through the door.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, obviously we're in the middle of pre-season, played 2 games, got 2 games left. But just to briefly cover it, what do you make of the pre-season so far? Like, do you think any of the results matter? Are you surprised by any of it? You know, what are your standout performers and maybe any concerns you might have going into the season that you think might need tightening up by the end of the transfer window?
I think, look, I mean, I didn't go to. I mean, you're the man for the Port Vale game. You were there. I didn't really take much of an interest in it. I didn't go to it. I think that from what I heard, that game didn't sound very good. But to be fair, the Fylde game, there was improvement from what I've heard. Chris Z performed admirably. Fraser Murray put a big shift in. I think that Joe Walsh had a good game. But, you know, with that, you know, Fylde are a very different club to Port Vale. Port Vale are a league below us. Fylde are about probably 3 or 4 divisions below us. So it's kind of one of them, really.
Yeah, but this is it. I don't get why in pre-season for the last 2 years we've not played any opposition that are higher than us in the league.
I know. I mean, I would have liked maybe like an Everton, maybe at home. That would have been decent. But, you know, oh well.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but it is what it is. But yeah, is there anything you want to mention, like positions or whatever, that you think should be improved before the season starts or the end of the transfer window?
I think we could definitely do another centre back. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily name any names, but I think there's probably, you know, just someone with a similar profile to Jason Kerr. We've not got that, you know. And Chicola Mullen's not a Jason Kerr-esque player. We need something like him. We could definitely do the midfield. You know, if Matt Smith is going to extend his contract, then I'd be happy to take it back. But if not, we need someone to replace him. Someone, you know, similar profile to him. Because Matt Smith, honestly, I think he really fits the Gary Club system. He put in a good shift last season. And I think, you know, with what we've got, Sadie Costello, we've got Higgins, we've got Chris Z. I think there's probably room for maybe one more striker, but I'm not going to say. I don't think we're going to commit to that. So maybe, other than that, maybe another winger. I mean, as far as I'm aware, Joe Humbo's stayed only for the time being.
Yeah, he was made transfer listed, but I don't think anything's come of that.
Well, I think, yeah, the main two are a midfield, a CDM for Matt Smith, and definitely a Jason Kerr replacement. That's what I would go with.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I think in a few weeks' time, we'll obviously talk about what our expectation will be for this season. I don't want to do that today, because obviously there's still a couple of weeks to go until the actual league starts, about 2 weeks. And obviously we've got the Carabao Cup that's in just over a week's time. But yeah, I think, you know, looking ahead, we'll just talk about this season in general. You know, we've got opening games to obviously Barnsley, Cambridge, and then we've got a home game. And then what else? Is there any particular teams that you're excited for in the division this year to like go there or see them play?
It's a good question. I mean, I think Barnsley in the Carabao Cup will be interesting. I'd like to try and get that tipped off if we can go to it. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, obviously, the format's a bit weird with the Carabao Cup this year. I'm not really a big fan, but, you know, it is what it is. Really, the DFL is quite a mysterious company when it wants to be. I don't know. I mean, I think Bromley will be interesting. Bromley's quite because I think Bromley are probably capable of really surprising this year, but then also potentially lacking a little bit in certain areas. I think NK Dons being back in the league is interesting. And I think the other main one is probably Leicester City. I mean, Leicester City, we've spoken about how mad their downfall is. I think that'll be a good away day, to be honest. It'll also be a pretty cool team to hit the brick.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think this year, in terms of who's got relegated and who's come up, I think there is a good mix in there of,
Yeah,
teams who you
definitely.
wouldn't expect, and obviously teams who've worked their way back up. But yeah, I'm quite excited for these teams, and hopefully I get to go on a few more away days next season. Don't want to do a
Yeah,
shame.
fingers
I'm going to
crossed.
do a shameless plug here. Awaydays.net. Everybody, get on there. New thing we've been working on. You can track all your grounds, add people, have leaderboards. There's also game sections of like a ground theme Wordle. There's all sorts of games on there. I recommend you check it out at awaydays.net. Yeah, so I think that sort of sums up, what we're expecting, what's happened so far. So just to finish off today's episode, we've just got a couple of bits of news regarding the channel. First off, I want to say thank you for 1,000 followers on the Instagram. And with that, we've obviously been able to unlock the channel feature. So if you follow us on Instagram, make sure to join the channel, because we'll put like polls and behind the scenes content in there and all sorts. So make sure you've joined that. I think 25 people have joined it so far, which we're grateful for. Try and build a community within that. But if you've also been following us, you'll see we've got quite a big announcement ourselves. As many of you have noticed, we've evolved a little bit and we've put a bit of a post out. Now, obviously, last season we did quite well, and it felt like it was a shame that we were inactive at times, and we want to try and be more consistent this season. So obviously, we do more than match day vlogs. We've obviously got the social media, the articles, whatever. So we've decided to expand, get a few other people on board. So in the next couple of podcast episodes, well, in the future, should I just say, you'll start to see there'll be more than just me and Charlie hosting this. There'll be a couple of us. We'll have like a good discussion. And these should be like regular features. We might have the occasional guest. But I'm very excited for this, and I'm sure you are as well, Charlie. But it's not only that, we've also got people who are going to write different content for the website as well. So definitely make sure you keep visiting Latics.News to see what everyone's up to. And with that, anything else you want to say, Charlie?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, yeah, still a big thank you to everyone, and I also just think that, yeah, it's very exciting times here coming up at C&C Football Vlogs.
Yeah, completely agree. So that's everything for today's episode, I reckon. Hopefully you've enjoyed having Wigan Weekly back. And if you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe, follow, whichever, it depends what platform you're listening to it on. Leave us a review if you can. If you're on Spotify, you can leave us a review. 5 stars would be appreciated. And let us know your thoughts on everything we've discussed today, whether that be on social media, wherever. You can also keep up to date with us over on Latics.News, where we'll have transfer news, match previews, reports, and plenty more throughout the season. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week.